So when we go back into the text again, and Abram's concern is he's got no offspring, and he's come all the way from Ur of the Chaldeans to this promised land solely on believing, and he's seen his wealth begin to occur, be amassed, and he's wondering, where's this promised child, especially since he's getting older. Now, we adopted my last son, I think I was maybe 50. Yeah, close to that, because I always thought I'll be 67 when he graduates from school. And I can tell you at age 62, I can see why you have grandchildren at this age and not children. It takes much more energy and patience I have, energy I don't. And I don't know what the story was with Abram, but I can only imagine that even at his age, even if he was in far better physical condition than I am, which I can imagine to be true given the nature of his position, even still, when you're hit 90 to have kids, it's just not something I can fathom. So when he's getting older and still no heir, I could see why he'd be really concerned, especially since his wife is also that much older. And that becomes an issue of protection and provision. If you say you love someone and you don't provide for them, and they have to go hungry or they have to deal with insecurity, that's not a very loving situation. There's no love. It doesn't feel loving when you're counting on something and it's not coming to pass. And so then you have to start thinking about, what other arrangements am I going to need to make in order for things to happen? And really, Abram does that later on when he has not Isaac as his firstborn, but Ishmael. And so Abram does show that he struggles with belief and trusting God and his promises. See, this all feeds into this idea of what does it mean to believe, and why is belief important? Well, I studied under a psychologist, Dr. Robert Stadheim, for about a year. He would do various spiritual journey weekends, and I liked how he addressed what he called belief systems. And so a belief system is really the very root of your being as to how you're going to view God. And your belief system can be such that you love, and you're loved by your mom and dad, and as you grow up in years, you're loved by your greater family. It's much easier to love God or the concept of God when you're not looking down, so to speak, the barrel of life all the time. When you're not struggling with insecurity, whether it's food insecurities or insecurities in the household due to troubles between mom and dad, whether the insecurities are because of your personality and how you relate to the world. You know, everybody knows extroverts who can just throw themselves in the midst of people and come out with new friends all the time. But then there are those of us who are introverts, and it's much more difficult to integrate into the world as an introvert than it is as an extrovert. And of course we We can disagree on certain points of that, but insecurities abound even amongst those who are extroverted. It may be when they're tasked with something that it requires a very introverted, introspective type of responsibility, and they're drawing their power from being around people, their energy from being around people. So there's so many different aspects that go into this understanding of belief. But when we go to the core of someone, when you get right down to the rock bottom of who you are, if you don't have love as a primary deposit in your understanding of belief, you won't have the gift of protection and provision. And the other side of love is fear, and some people consider it to be the opposite. But I think both are elements, the very core elements that make up who we are in our psyche or in our emotional being, as well as mental, emotional being, as well as our spiritual being. And so it affects so many different aspects that they're really too numerous to say in just a 5-minute devotion. But if I was going to sum it up, is that we all need to fear and love God.